Hello, I'm Pastor Wayne Fife, and I'm honored to have been invited to speak briefly about Rosemarie Borelli and the Freedom House Ministries and the Freedom House Schools. What I share is personal in nature because my interaction with Rosemarie Borelli and Freedom House Ministries and the Freedom House Schools was of a personal nature. I was so grateful for God setting up the divine appointment for me to meet Rosemarie Borelli and Tommy and Marianne Anderson. I began to hear a lot of personal testimonies of real breakthrough from people in my church in Oak Park. After having received ministry from Rosemarie Borelli or Tommy and Marianne Anderson and Freedom House. So as I began to develop a relationship with Tommy and Marianne, which led to a relationship with Rosemarie, I began to see something in all of them, but particularly in Rosemarie, that she was an ambassador of heaven. In many ways, she was a hidden ambassador from heaven, hidden to the eyes of the organized church, hidden to the eyes of government and so on. But she was very strategically used by God to be an ambassador of heaven. And she represented the king to the sick, the lonely, the hurting, the broken, to singles, couples, married couples, to people that were engaged, to pastors and leaders, to young and old. Her ministry to youth was very, very effective. Bringing great freedom into very troubled lives and reconciliation oftentimes between children and their parents. And so as an ambassador for the kingdom of heaven, she had a great impact on people's lives, hundreds and hundreds of people, including mine. She was an ambassador of reconciliation, bringing the hearts of the Father to their children and building a bridge between people whose lives were broken, whose relationships were hurting. And so she was used by God to breathe life back into very hurting and dying relationships. And she was an ambassador of healing. Her ministry of prayer and intercession and inner healing and counsel brought real freedom and wholeness to people in their minds and their souls and their emotions, their spirits and their bodies. So I'm very thankful for the deposit of God in Rosemarie and how she then poured that deposit into what has become known as Freedom House Ministries. Because the legacy of Freedom House Ministries is being that ambassador for heaven, an ambassador for reconciliation, an ambassador for healing. I personally made decisions along with my wife, Kathy, where the two of us would do all 2 schools of Freedom House. Back then it was called Basic 1 and Basic 2, each a year long, going all day, once a month. A very well laid out endeavor of equipping. And we primarily took it to be equipped further in prayer ministry to people, particularly in the areas of inner healing. I saw so much that a pastor or a leader could do if they were further equipped in the area of ministering to the soul and the heart. And so the tools that Freedom House Schools gave me were absolutely dynamic in terms of me to this day and my wife Kathy coming alongside people and walking with them into breakthrough and great freedom on the resurrection side of the cross, as Rosemarie would talk about. I think that the greatest surprise when we went into the schools was that God had us there not just to be equipped, but to actually experience breakthrough ourselves. So for me personally, there was breakthrough in specific areas like bitter root judgments, learning about what those were and the dynamics biblically of those and the harm they bring, and getting free from those, of believing lies and how to identify lies in the environment and context of Scripture, renouncing those lies and walking in truth, in heaven's perspective of reality. And then for me personally, a huge area was God actually showing me where I'd had some passive aggressive qualities to my personality that God wanted to heal and release me from. So my experience with Freedom House and my entreaty to you is of a personal nature, because you may be at a place where you're wanting more breakthrough, where you're wanting more equipping, where you're wanting to seek the face of God in a deeper way in these very troubled times. And God says, if you seek me, you will find me. And the ministry of the Freedom House schools is a way to seek God and find him in an area of, in a way that is very redemptive and very healing. So God bless you. I encourage you to support Freedom House Ministries every way you can. Thank you.